Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today, for the first time in quite a while, we are back with Champions League content. But bigger than that, it's Manchester United Champions League content. Ten Hag did such a good job last year. Manchester United are finally in the Champions League. However, a slight sticking point, they've got Bayern in the group, away from home in the first game. It's going to be quite a tricky one. Now today what we're going to do in this tactical preview is look at things a little bit differently. Normally what I would talk about is, these are the Bayern weaknesses. United could set up in this particular formation, for example, to hurt it. What we're going to do instead today, though, is rather than kind of suggesting things United could do, we're actually going to talk about what I think will happen. So this is more of a what to expect from this particular football match. So let's get into it. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. So as you would have seen briefly before that advert, I think that both teams are most likely to set up in a 4-2-3-1. Bayern will almost definitely do it. With United, it's slightly more guesswork. Of course, the diamond was used at the weekend. Realistically, with someone like Bruno Fernandes, for example, playing right wing, it could certainly turn to a diamond anyway. I just think if Ten Hag goes for a diamond, I think he'll get destroyed out wide again like we saw at the weekend. And I would like to think he knows that. So I think we will see something which looks more like a 4-2-3-1. So let's first look at what I think Bayern will do when they've got the ball. And as you'd expect, from a team like Bayern, a big team, all modern teams do it these days, Bayern will look to play the ball out from the back. The likes of Kim Min-jae, Upamecano are good ball players, but Mazraoui in particular as well, Alphonso Davies and Joshua Kimmich as well, all really good ball players in this area. And we know that United have issues with the way that they press. So I can certainly see a world, for example, where the ball might go to the right centre-back, Højlund will come across like this, Rashford will come across like this onto Mazraoui, the number 10, whether it be McTominay or Fernandes, will squeeze high here. United might try and go quite aggressive, but the problem is, as this ball then goes backwards, United then always curve the winger in, which leaves the fullback spare. And with Bayern having someone like Alphonso Davies at left back, a literal road runner, but a very good footballer as well, receiving the ball with time and space, with loads of green grass in front of him, that might be a slight problem for United. And I think the United press could struggle in this game. If United do press high, I think they might get picked off a little bit. With Alphonso Davies then really striding forward, carrying the ball forward down this left-hand side. But also players like Goretzka, for example, he's a really good ball carrier. It's why I also think Musiala will play for Bayern as well, because he's another player who is very, very good at carrying the ball forward. So that is a slight concern of mine heading into the game, that I think United's press, if they use it, will get caught out. If Bayern are regularly able to play the ball out from the back, then they will without doubt have spells in this game where they sustain dominance and control the ball, dominate possession, again particularly with someone like Kimmich in the side. He is a player who's very metronomic on the ball, everything goes through him, he'll look to slow the tempo down at times, speed it up at times, he's really in control of this team. But of course the structure around him is also important. And Bayern will most likely go over 2-4 shape with the two fullbacks pushing in line with the double pivot. Now there is a chance that in certain situations Goretzka pushes further forward, we could certainly see that, but I think in the large it will be more of a 2-4-3-1 shape like this. Now my areas of main concern in this shape would be, is Marcus Rashford going to do a good enough job of tracking Mazraoui down this side? Because Mazraoui is an unbelievably good footballer, very technical, he can underlap, he can overlap, he can invert, he can do a little bit of everything, so that's a real concern of mine, Rashford against Mazraoui from a defensive point of view. But also the fact that Bayern will move both wingers inside into quite narrow positions. This front four really get close to each other. And that would be a concern, mainly because Leroy Sané, Musiala and Koeman are all extremely good ball carriers. Really good dribblers, great in tight spaces. This could also be someone like Gnabry. They're great in these areas where it's nice and compact, but they're going to wiggle through different players. And again, this is concerning because we know that United have struggled with that this season. Casemiro, for example, I think might be in for quite a long game if you're going to get lots of small, nippy players around him who are looking to dribble him. So again, I think Bayern will have some spells where they're quite happy in possession. If this is the case, then Bayern will most likely push one of their fullbacks forward at a time. Again, it will most likely be Alphonso Davies in an attempt to form a front five on that last line, which we know is going to outnumber and overload the United defence. So Casemiro is going to have a big job in this game of at times dropping into the back 5 to help out. But the other problem is that Bayern are adventurous in the way that they play. So not only are they going to push forward and make this front 5, when the ball goes wide in particular, expect late crashes from Goretzka. Now, I don't think he'll go all the way into the box, although he might, but kind of popping up on the edge of the penalty area, an area where we know United aren't very good at tracking runners. So let's say Alphonso Davies was to have the ball here, goes to Coman. Watch for this sort of cut back towards the edge of the box where Goretzka's now arriving into space. That is definitely something United need to be aware of. And the likes of McTominay, Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, they are going to have a busy job in the midfield in this match. Are they up to it? We'll have to wait and see. The other concern, realistically, would just be the pure quality of Harry Kane. He's a wonderfully gifted footballer, one of the best strikers the world has ever seen, probably the best striker in the world at the moment. He is just unbelievable. His movement in the box is brilliant, his finishing is brilliant, and we know that United's box defence, particularly with Lindelof and Lisandro Martinez, isn't that great. So again, that would be a concern, and I think there are quite clearly ways in which Bayern can hurt United. So United are going to have to be good from a defensive point of view. Players are going to have to work hard. The likes of Rashford, Eriksen, McTominay, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro are going to have to put a real shift in this game. But, you know, this is elite European football. That's going to be the case in pretty much any game. But don't worry, at the same time, United can hurt Bayern going the other way. So time to talk about United on the ball, and once again, I think we will see a Bayern team which is going to press high and try and put pressure on the ball. However, I think this might actually suit United. So Bayern will often press with what is essentially a front 4. Kane, Musiala, Coman and Sane will go man for man with all the defenders. We'll then also see someone like Goretzka backing up the press on the deepest pivot for United. Now, this is going to leave a few problems for Bayern, though, because we can now see that Kimmich, for example, is 2 versus 1 in the midfield, unless Kim Min-jae or Upamecano are super aggressive, but they might be worried about Rasmus Højlund if he starts going the other way. But also, Onana is going to play such an important role in playing the ball up from the back. And in particular, it'll be his patience on the ball, which I think could be really key. The ability to take his time, kind of bait someone like Musiala in, because whilst Musiala is good with a shadow press like this, suddenly all it takes is a ball to Eriksen, then kind of a pop pass to Lindelof, and United can get the ball up from the back. And if they do then have someone spare in midfield, or even if one of the centre-backs is actually really aggressive, you could now find room for someone like Rasmus Højlund going in behind. So I think thanks to Onana, United could have some real success playing out from the back in this game. Also expect a few sketchy moments at the back here because Bayern are intense, but I think United might be okay in this area and actually able to move the ball forward quite well. In terms of when United are moving the ball forward and actually trying to control possession a little bit more, I think I'm expecting more of a 2-3 shape, of course with the 2 centre-backs and then a 3 in front of them. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Reguilon, for example, often actually pushes quite far forward to allow Rashford to move inside, and it might be Christian Eriksen which is dropping it into a slightly deeper position. I also don't think, whether it's Bruno Fernandes or Scott McTominay, I'm not expecting real whip held from its position. Again, I think they will come inside. Now again, just to confirm, this isn't me saying what I would do to approach this game, it's what I think United will do. I'd be very tempted by a Facundo Pellistri or a Garnacho on the wing, but I think it's unlikely in a game of this magnitude away from home. So instead, United will go with this 2-3. Now from this situation, I think Bayern will be somewhat passive at times in a 4-4-1-1. With the wingers dropping a little bit deeper either side of the central midfielders, and then of course Musiala behind Harry Kane. This is why I'm only going with 2 centre-backs to play the ball out from the back, rather than having a third player dropping in. And the main reason for this, though, is because Bayern don't connect their far side winger that well when they look to engage the ball. So let's say Lindelof has the ball here, and Harry Kane's going to come over and apply a sort of pressure. The ball goes to Dalot, Coman's also going to come across, someone like Musiala's also going to come across as well. But if you can get this ball this way to Lisandro Martinez, which is definitely something Dalot can do, it's quite a simple pass for him really. Sane is unlikely to then become particularly connected up here. It might change in this game, but in terms of what we normally see, Sane's unlikely to come all the way forward up here. So I think we could now see room for Lisandro Martinez to step forward. And I just realised I got Sane with the wrong number, but never mind. Anyway, Lisandro Martinez is now going to be able to carry the ball forward. This is where we might see some overloads from United. If they're able to move the ball from one side, get it to the far side centre-back and now step with the ball, we could have Lisandro Martinez, Christian Eriksen, Rashford and Reguilon up against Kimmich, Sane and Mazraoui, with hopefully Højlund occupying the centre-backs. There is the potential for this little 4 versus 3, kind of in this area of the pitch here. this area here, there is potential for a 4 versus 3, but also, of course, there is potential to get Rashford on the ball, 1 versus 1 against Mazraoui. Can he take him on? Can he get into dangerous areas? Mazraoui is a great player, but he isn't the greatest 1 versus 1 defender you'll ever see. So Rashford could have some luck in these areas, and again, I think there are ways in which United can move the ball forward. Central progression might be a little bit difficult at times, but I think United can get forward and hurt Bayern. If United are able to move the ball forward, then they, like Bayern, will attack with a front 5. Reguilon, Rashford, Højlund, McTominay, Fernandes could easily all push forward onto that last line, giving United a front 5 up against the back 4 of Bayern. And again, as always, that does cause problems for Bayern. Now, the bigger problem for Bayern here, though, is that when we were talking about United up the other end, they at least had someone like Casemiro who could drop into form a back 5. Bayern lack that. None of the wingers are going to do it. Kimmich doesn't want to do it. Goretzka doesn't want to do it. So I genuinely think United have a proper chance of overloading this last line. And I think Bruno Fernandes in particular, if he can swap with McTominay at times and come into these areas, I think his movement and his spatial awareness could see him drifting off of the likes of Kimmich and Goretzka. I also think maybe if Højlund wants to drop a little bit into these holes here, I think you could then see runners into the box. This is definitely something that I would be looking out for. Bruno Fernandes or maybe McTominay as well, arriving in the box for a header. Definitely keep an eye out for that in this game. I'm not guaranteeing that we're going to see it, but we certainly could. Outside of that, United's attacks will be focused down the left-hand side. We know that with Marcus Rashford. Reguilon will look to overload and overlap, sometimes underlap, get forward and support Marcus Rashford. And that is probably where the main threat will come from. What we need to see in this game is better decision-making in the final third, because if that does happen, and United have overloaded Bayern, Rasmus Højlund, Bruno Fernandes, Scott McTominay, they could find themselves in promising positions in the box. They need to make sure, they're positive. I don't just want to see Højlund in the box, get McTominay attacking the ball as well, Bruno Fernandes lurking. Again, I genuinely think United can hurt Bayern. That was, of course, a main focus on both teams trying to play the ball out from the back, control the ball, and then overload in the final third. But I also think a big part of this game will be transitions. The main reason for that is because both teams have excellent attacking threats. We're talking Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund, Marcus Rashford. But we're also talking about Harry Kane, Coman, Sane, Gnabry if he plays. There's plenty of attacking talent in the counter-attack, but also not great defensive setups. We know that United, when they try and defend a transition, become incredibly exposed. Casemiro often gets overrun in midfield. If we're talking about maybe Harry Kane dropping a little bit deeper into the midfield and then getting runners past him, Thomas Muller maybe, or Musiala, Leroy Sane, Coman, again, that could cause problems for United. But United will also be dangerous in transition. And the reason for that is because Bayern don't have a true number 6. Now, Kimmich wears it on the shirt, as he pointed out the other week, but he's not a great ball winner. Him and Goretzka aren't two sort of players which are going to sit and really bully the opposition in front of the defence. Goretzka wants to push a little bit higher, both fullbacks will commit reasonably high. At times we could see Kimmich, Upamecano and Kim Min-jae a little bit isolated. Now if Bruno Fernandes and Scott McTominay again can get close enough to the United attack, then there's a real threat for Marcus Rashford in that left channel, but also Bruno Fernandes moving into that hole in front of the two Bayern centre-backs, of course combined with Rasmus Højlund going in behind. And it's why I genuinely think this game is pretty 50-50. I think, as crazy as it might sound, I think Bayern could easily win this game 3-0. I think United could easily win this game 2 or 3-0. I think we could see a 0-0. I think we could see a 2-2. I think a lot of United fans are coming into this game with quite a negative point of view. Bayern aren't perfect either. Just remember that. Come into this game with a little bit of optimism. This might age horribly and really backfire, but I'm reasonably optimistic going into the game. I think as you have to be as a Manchester United fan. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. These are some of the tactics and some of the ideas and some of the patterns which I think we will see in the game. So make sure to look out for them during the match. And if you see any of them, come back to this video at half time and let me know. On the 27th minute I saw this happen. Let me know in the comments down below as you see it happening during the game. But apart from that, get in the comments down below. Let me know what you think the scoreline will be, your concerns, the things you're positive about. All of that, let me know. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.